In this ASPI analysis for Thursday the 2nd of October, I want to talk about the position of the Australian government and the military operations in Iraq. Newspaper reports suggest that the National Security Committee of Cabinet will meet tomorrow on Friday, and in all likelihood this will be the step which authorises military operations in the form of strike operations to begin in Iraq. There is actually no legal process specifically that governments have to follow at this point. It's very much a decision for executive governments. Back in 1990, which seems like ancient history, Bob Hawke committed Australian forces to the Gulf War on the strength of a discussion with his Foreign Minister Gareth Evans and Defence Minister Kim Beazley. However, since the Howard government of the late 90s and early 2000s, there's a convention developing which sees the National Security Committee of Cabinet taking the formal decision to commit to combat operations, and then a full cabinet being briefed immediately after the NSC meets. And that looks as though what's going to happen tomorrow. So working on the assumption that Australian combat aircraft will be given the go-ahead to conduct strike operations, we can expect in the next few days, perhaps over the weekend, the Australian Super Hornet aircraft will start to operate with the coalition looking for targets. This is very much an intelligence-driven operation, with real-time intelligence being the critical factor that indicates where a target, for example a moving vehicle, might be at any one time, and then vectoring the combat aircraft onto that target. One of the problems I think that the coalition now has is that ISIL has adopted a Hamas strategy of blending into the civilian population in Mosul and are simply not moving vehicles in the way that we've seen through a number of YouTube videos very publicly with black flags waving. If you don't have targets to hit, then it's going to be extremely difficult for the coalition to actually provide useful military effect on the ground. I think what that points to is the growing criticality of the training which should take place of Iraqi military forces, Kurdish Peshmerga, and potentially some force that will operate in Syria in coming months. But of course all of that points to what is now emerging less as a shock and awe campaign, but something which is going to be hard grind, slow, over many months. And here's a problem for the coalition. Whilst it might be possible to claim that we have ISIL bottled up and unable to move, ISIL could make the claim that we have now in the coalition very long supply chains, hundreds of millions of dollars of equipment waiting to go and undertake operations, but simply not being able to do anything which is going to provide useful military effect on the ground. In effect, we're in a sort of stalemate. And my thinking is that we're likely to see that for some time to come, whilst the training takes place of ground troops in Iraq and external to Syria, but ultimately with the aim of moving into Syria.